I'd like to start off by saying thank you to our president, Steve, incredible, our gifted and talented Chazanit, Sharon, and of course, our Dr. Mason. I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. Accompanying us in our sanctuary, we have Old Glory, our beautiful American flag. And here to my left, the Degel Shel Yisrael, the flag of Israel. I too am both Israeli and American and Israeli. But let me share with you my story. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it was always my dream to experience life in our Jewish homeland. Growing up in a predominantly Christian part of the country, I felt extra responsibility to represent the Jewish people. In middle school and in high school, I was one of a handful of Jewish students. I grew up playing football, wrestling, running cross country, listening to country music. Does anyone listen to country music? All right. Fishing, camping. I don't know if it's so country, but one of my favorite songs by John Denver is "Thank God I'm a Country Boy." Growing up in small town USA contributed to the congenial outgoing rabbi standing before you here today. While at the time it did not feel like it, I have come to appreciate my childhood as a gift. I had cousins living in New Jersey, and when we visited them for the simchas, it felt like their entire community was Jewish. I remember in Chattanooga, it was, even when my wife, when we drove together to Chattanooga, she said, "There's a church on every corner. What's going on?" It's all right, it's a beautiful area. People are very religious. But going to Morristown, New Jersey, it was an interesting feeling. I was driving. This is a shul, and that's a shul, and this is a, whoa, I'm off. In Yiddish, we say, "Auf jeder Welt." I'm in another world. This is amazing. In grade school, my favorite subject was social studies. I loved learning about history in particular, and Jews have a long history of defending our great nation, going back to George Washington and supporting a free and united and unified America. I still recall a family vacation to Rhode Island when I was young to tour the Touro Synagogue. In that synagogue, there is a letter from George Washington communicating the commitment of the United States of America to be a nation where all can practice their faith in peace. I did not know how special this was until I was approaching my bar mitzvah. And there my father shared with me about the persecution my paternal grandfather, Moish, suffered before he immigrated to this country. During World War II, Joseph Bloomfield, Zichrono Livracha, my grandfather and the great man that I am named after, received a Purple Heart in the European theater. My mom's side of the family tree goes way back, generations in the land. My father's family came from Europe in the 1900s and never truly integrated into the American culture. In my own household, there was really, when I think about American holidays, my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. Growing up in my household, there was really not this Thanksgiving meal. Instead, my father instilled in us the importance of allowing others to have a Thanksgiving meal, and we would go every year to the Salvation Army to serve those who had nowhere else to go. But we never brought this Thanksgiving joy, this meal, into our home. After volunteering, my brother and I would always go to the neighbor's house for a football and partake in the Thanksgiving feast ourselves. As I approached my high school graduation and discussed plans for life after high school with my friends, many of them had decided to follow in their family's tradition of serving in our armed forces. As a child, learning and singing the Hatikvah had filled me with a desire to defend my Jewish homeland. Even today, on Sunday school and hearing Kol Od Baleva, here in every Jewish heart, there's this yearning. I made the decision to spend a gap year in Israel with the intention of making Aliyah and serving in the IDF. It was my goal to immerse myself in Israeli culture, but, and I really wanted to become a sabra, like this cactus fruit, native to the land of Israel. But I found that it was difficult. Even when I made Aliyah, I remember I was in the office in the airport, Ben Gurion Airport. They said, "What would your name like to be? What do you want to call yourself?" My name in Hebrew has two chupchiks, which means that it doesn't exist in the Hebrew alphabet. There's no J. But I remember hearing stories. My father was my Hebrew teacher, and he always told me the story about Golda Meyerson. When she made Aliyah, they said, "Here, be Zahava. She said, "Absolutely not. I want to remember where I come from. I'm Golda." It was hard for me to forget this place of my birth. I became so proud of being from Chattanooga. And in Israel, when November came around, I longed for Thanksgiving. Chag HaHodayah. Putting together a Thanksgiving dinner in Israel is no small feat. Being able to share my American culture and traditions with my new Israeli friends was incredible. I went in the Army in March, and there's 3 time frames that people go in the Army: in June, July, in March, and usually in March it's the religious individuals, after all of the Chagim. And so I told my friend Hadad, I said, "I want to have this great celebration of Thanksgiving." And he said, "What do you mean this celebration of Thanksgiving? We do it every day. Hodu Ladonai Ki Tov, it's in the service." I said, "That's not the same thing. We have to have a Thanksgiving meal." I find that I have so much appreciation now from my upbringing here in the USA when I travel abroad. The USA is mischaracterized as a nation of people solely focused on the accumulation of material wealth. The truth is that as citizens of the USA, we possess strength, ingenuity, compassion, and appreciation for life. It is evident when exploring our great nation to witness the beauty of our national and state park systems. My wife and I have many shirts with all the parks, and we were recently, as my father-in-law is visiting from Hawaii, wherever we travel, we want to get our children little pins that they visited, little ranger pins that they visited these beautiful parks. But now here, when the 4th of July comes around, everyone is ready to celebrate. It can be easy to focus on the negatives, and there is no shortage of real problems that need to be addressed in our country and every other. But here, on this 4th of July weekend, where we're going to come together and celebrate, barbecue, light and watch fireworks. Those are things that we do, but my hope, my blessing, my prayer for all of us, I hope we all feel a sense of pride for having the freedom to gather as a Jewish community and the ability to live as Jewish Americans. I wish everyone a very happy and healthy 4th of July weekend. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.